My fiancé Dylan Martinez abandoned me on our wedding day because his adopted sister threatened to jump off a building. Humiliated in front of our guests, I stood and announced, loud enough for everyone to hear, "Whoever climbs up here to marry me now, I will marry them." 3 years passed. Then Dylan returned to the Martinez estate with his adopted sister at his side. I was on the leather sofa, sipping tonic and binge-watching dramas, when Dylan's eyes fixed on my rounded belly. He ground out through clenched teeth, "Whose bastard is that?" I took another leisurely sip and let a faint smile touch my lips. "This child carries Martinez blood." Dylan lunged across the room and yanked me to my feet. "You slut," he spat, voice sharp. "I left with Amy on our wedding day. We did not return for 3 years. How could that possibly be mine?" I almost laughed. I had never said his was the only Martinez bloodline. The Martinez men were not limited to him. "Of course it is not yours," I said, cold and steady. "You are unfit to be a father." Amy inhaled dramatically. "Elizabeth, Dylan preserved your title as Mrs. Martinez, let you live in luxury, and this is how you repay us. With a bastard," she cried. My gaze sliced to her. "Amy, you seduced your adopted brother. Who is truly disgraceful here?" Amy feigned hurt, voice trembling. "Dylan, we have stayed proper for 3 years. She has cuckolded you." At the word cuckold, Dylan's hand cracked across my face. "You whore. Not content with bearing a bastard, you slander Amy and me? Get out of the Martinez house." Pain exploded across my cheek. For a terrible moment I was stunned, memories of 3 years ago flooding back, when Dylan had eloped with Amy and left me to the public shame. Furious and desperate then, I had demanded a replacement. Raymond Martinez, Dylan's uncle, had stepped forward. Raymond, known across Philadelphia as the Grim Reaper, made men grovel, and since our marriage he had treated me like porcelain. During my pregnancy, he guarded me fiercely, forbidding even so much as a hair to be harmed. If Raymond discovered Dylan had struck me, there would be blood. To prevent that and to protect my unborn child, I hissed, "Leave now, and I will pretend none of this ever happened." Amy did not listen. She seized a fistful of my hair and screamed, "Dylan, she's afraid. She wants us gone so her bastard can steal everything." "You scheming slut." Dylan spat. "I will not let you succeed." I wrenched free and said, flatly, "The day you eloped, Aaron Martinez disowned you. Everything you had here ceased to be yours." Amy laughed lightly. "That was only Grandpa's anger. Dylan is the Martinez grandson, the rightful heir. He never truly disowned him." Dylan's smugness returned. "Grandpa said everything belongs to me." I laid a hand on my belly, voice like ice. "Not anymore. This child in my womb carries Martinez blood too." I thought I had been clear. Dylan's face contorted. "You whore, trying to pass off that bastard as a Martinez heir. I will teach you a lesson today." His backhand hit me with brutal force. I fell to the floor, hands clutched to my belly. Their faces hovered over me, twisted with malice, and my first thought was for the baby inside me. "This child is not a bastard, he is," I started. Before I could finish, Dylan stooped, scooped up the spilled tonic and shards of broken porcelain, and forced them into my mouth. "While Amy and I suffered for 3 years, you have been freeloading off the Martinez name with that bastard in your belly," he snarled. "Today I will make sure you eat your fill." I choked. Pain seared as porcelain cut my gums, blood filling my mouth. I raised my hands to shield myself, only for Amy's stiletto heel to crush down on my knuckles. My hand trembled with pain, but I could not scream. Once the tonic and broken porcelain were poured into my mouth, Dylan spat on me and straightened, dusting his hands. Amy shifted her heel onto my swollen abdomen. Terror flooded me. I grabbed her ankle, desperate to stop her from crushing the child. Raymond was infertile. This pregnancy had been the result of 3 grueling years of specialists, tests, hope, and sacrifice. This child mattered. Amy sneered, "Elizabeth, you look like a bitch guarding her litter. Pathetic." Dylan stared at my stomach, face dark. "If everyone finds out I was cuckolded, how will I show my face in Philadelphia?" "Amy, stomp that bastard out." I shook my head, spitting clots of blood. "This child is Raymond Martinez's," I gasped. Dylan froze, then broke into derisive laughter. "You lie without blinking. Everyone knows my uncle shuns women and claims he is incapable of fathering children. I am the only Martinez bloodline left." Amy added, "Dylan is the sole heir." Grandpa even froze his accounts to force him back. You are delusional, trying to pin this on Uncle Raymond after being exposed, Dylan sneered. Seeing their certainty, I aimed for one last hope. I am not lying.
Call him.
He will confirm it. I reached for the phone on the table. Raymond coming for us, answering for the child, was our only chance. Dylan snatched the phone mid-reach and smashed it on the floor. The screen shattered. He gripped my chin. My uncle's moods are unpredictable. If he learns I cannot handle being cuckolded, he will deem me unfit. He might withhold the company. Amy laughed, patience gone. Why waste words? Get on your knees, bark like a dog twice, admit you are a promiscuous bitch, and I might spare what is in your belly. She raised her phone, as if to record. Pain lanced through my abdomen. The baby kicked, frantic inside me. I whispered, please spare my child. They stood over me, triumphant and cruel, and the room narrowed to the sound of my own breathing and the fragile life inside me, pleading to be kept safe. For the sake of my unborn child, nothing else mattered. I turned, forced myself to my knees, and barked, woof, woof, twice, voice trembling, then said, I'm a promiscuous bitch. Amy bent down, a smug smile on her lips. Elizabeth, did you ever imagine, when I begged you not to marry Dylan, that you would end up like this? She had pleaded with me back then, saying she and her brother were in love, and asking me to call off the engagement. Our family's alliance was arranged by the elders, tied to countless business interests. If I backed out, the Shun family would suffer. I refused Amy then, and I never expected her to nurse that grudge for 3 years. Now I had no energy for the past. I looked up at them, voice raw. Please call an ambulance. Dylan stamped down on my back. Elizabeth, you are pathetic. You would do anything for that bastard. I lay crushed on the tile, my belly slamming into the floor, a burning pain spreading through me. You promised you would spare my child, I gasped. Amy's tone was lazy. I said I might spare your child. Dylan never agreed. You used that bastard to swindle the Martinez family under my name. Don't think I'll let you get away with it. Dylan snarled, then kicked my stomach with vicious force. Excruciating cramps seized me. Bright red blood flowed down my thighs. Feeling life slipping away inside me, a cold despair settled, and hatred fixed my gaze on them. Dylan Martinez, Amy Martinez, you will regret this. I managed. Amy stepped close, venom in her voice. She still refuses to repent. She has not learned enough. Dylan's sneer turned colder. Let's see who makes who regret it first. Amy, fetch a rope. She came back with a rope and bound my hands and feet, dragging my bleeding body from the house. A trail of blood stained the floor. They hauled me to the pool. Dylan kicked me into the water. Bound and helpless, I sank like a stone. Water filled my mouth and nose. Suffocation clawed at me. Just as death seemed certain, Dylan yanked the rope and hauled me gasping from the pool. Admit your wrongs, Elizabeth, he demanded. Will you dare cuckold me again? I gulped air, waves of labor pain hitting harder. From prenatal classes with Raymond, I knew I was in premature labor. My baby's chance of survival was slim, but I held on to that sliver of hope. I was wrong. I will not do it again. Please spare me and the child. I begged. I'm about to give birth. Call an ambulance, please. Dylan spat. Still thinking about that bastard? You show no remorse. Today I will not let that bastard leave the Martinez family alive. He raised his foot to kick me back into the pool. I closed my eyes, fearing drowning, when the front door slammed open. Raymond burst in, urgency and fury in his voice. Stop. Dylan staggered at his uncle's roar and dropped the rope, terrified of Raymond's presence. Seeing Grandpa Aaron behind Raymond, Dylan quickly recovered and played the dutiful grandson, wiping fake tears and embracing the old man. Amy stepped forward, a step removed from Grandpa's favor. Grandpa, Dylan, and I know we were wrong. He decided to return to marry Miss Elizabeth, but we never expected this. Dylan spat venom. That bitch cheated on me. She tried passing off a random child as Martinez blood. I have taken care of that bastard already. The Martinez name won't be tarnished. Grandpa Aaron shoved Dylan aside and finally saw me, barely breathing by the pool. Raymond rushed to untie me, hands trembling as he saw my lower body soaked in blood. Elizabeth, can you hear me? He asked. Tears streamed down my face. Raymond, the baby, save our baby. Grandpa stared, then struck Dylan with his cane. You monster, what have you done? Dylan dodged and accused me. Grandpa, she wore the Martinez name and cuckolded me. She fooled you both. I never touched her. That was not my child. Amy backed the lie. We just returned today. Her belly was already 6 or 7 months along. Definitely some random bastard. Grandpa swung his cane at Amy, shouting that the child was Martinez blood, not a bastard. Dylan fumed. How? I never slept with her. Raymond lifted my bleeding body, kicked Dylan to the ground, and fixed them both with a murderous glare. If anything happens to Elizabeth or our child, I will take your lives. He carried me rapidly toward the hospital. Dylan stood frozen under his uncle's lethal aura, only exhaling when Raymond had gone. He turned to Grandpa Aaron, panic and fury mixing on his face. Grandpa, has Uncle lost his mind? How could he threaten my life over that woman and her bastard? Amy whispered, sowing doubt. Dylan, what if this is Elizabeth and Uncle's plot? Uncle can't have children, so they used her baby to steal your inheritance. Dylan lunged to Grandpa. You must defend me. All Martinez assets are mine. They cannot go to outsiders. Grandpa Aaron, furious and disbelieving, wrapped his cane against Dylan's head. After being sharp all my life, how could I have such a foolish son? Then, for the first time, Grandpa Aaron stated what I already knew. The baby in my womb was Raymond's. The moment Grandpa Aaron spoke, Dylan and Amy froze. After a stunned silence, they stammered. How is that possible? Elizabeth is my wife. How could she be with Raymond? And doesn't he hate women? Wasn't he born infertile? Aaron looked at Dylan, disappointment heavy in his voice. When you fled the wedding, Elizabeth married Raymond right then and there. The whole city of Philadelphia knew. Everyone except you. Dylan went ashen. After eloping with Amy, they had cut ties with Philadelphia to avoid being dragged back, drifting from place to place. Only when their accounts were recently frozen did they return, penniless, their return tickets bought with a month's dishwashing wages. They had raced straight to the Martinez manor, with no time to catch up on gossip. Aaron went on bitterly. Yes, Raymond was born sterile, but he never gave up. He spent years consulting specialists worldwide until they conceived. And now you have ruined everything. Hearing Raymond's name and reputation, Dylan sagged, like a puppet with its strings cut. Stone-faced bodyguards entered the room. Trembling, Dylan and Amy begged for mercy. Grandfather, save us, I don't want to die. Grandfather, please. The guards ignored their pleas and hauled them away. Raymond moved fast. He had the driver race to the hospital. We arrived in 10 minutes. In the delivery room, I gave birth, 30 minutes later, to a stillborn boy. The doctor prepared to follow protocol, to dispose of the remains, but I stopped her. Bring him to me. She hesitated. Mrs. Martinez, it might be better not to look. This could cause psychological trauma. My voice was thin, but certain. He is my child, I must say goodbye. Raymond nodded. She placed the tiny body in my arms, no larger than my palm, already a deep, painful red. I cradled him as if he were glass, afraid I might hurt him. That morning he had kicked inside me. Now he lay utterly still. Tears fell without restraint. I'm sorry, baby, Mommy failed you. I pressed him to my chest, whispering, Don't be angry with me, sweetheart. Please wake up. And there was nothing. Raymond wrapped us both in his arms, his eyes rimmed with red. His grief matched mine. 10 years older than me, he had saved me at the altar when Dylan abandoned me. I had assumed he married me to protect the Martinez-Wright alliance. That night I'd offered divorce papers, and he tore them up. He confessed he had been asexual for 34 years, but seeing me in my wedding dress, he had fallen in love at first sight. He promised the marriage was real and asked me to give it my all. After we married, he spoiled me, lavish gifts arriving before I asked, a meticulous care that never let up. My heart, young and hopeful, softened. Beyond his age, he had more than I could name. Nights with him became a refuge. When I saw a friend's newborn, my longing for a child swelled unbearably. Raymond had always been naturally infertile, but he pursued treatments across the nation and overseas for my sake. When the positive pregnancy test came, he celebrated by giving every employee an extra month's salary. The night the baby first kicked, Raymond kissed my belly and said having us was enough for one life. We picked out the crib, the tiny clothes, the toys, each piece chosen with trembling joy. Now it was all gone. Thinking of Dylan and Amy's vicious faces, a bitter hatred burned through me. I wanted to tear them limb from limb. Raymond, Dylan, and Amy killed our baby. Raymond held me and the tiny body close, his eyes hard with murderous fury. "Elizabeth, rest," he said quietly. "I will not let anyone who harmed you or our child go unpunished. I will make them pay 100-fold for what they did today." After a full day and night of clinging to that small, silent weight, I accepted the truth that our baby was gone. Raymond and I arranged a cremation, then buried our child at Philadelphia's most auspicious memorial gardens. They dragged Dylan and Amy there, hauled by stone-faced bodyguards, and forced them to kneel before the fresh tombstone. In just one day, the two of them were unrecognizable, filthy and broken, faces swollen, limbs crisscrossed with raw, bleeding welts. Raymond had seen to it that they learned pain, ordering whips steeped in chili brine to flay them, then leaving them overnight in a cesspit so the stench would teach them humility. Raymond pressed an iron rod into my hand, voice calm and terrible. "Elizabeth, do what you want. I will handle the fallout." I tightened my grip on the rod and looked down at Dylan and Amy. They scrambled to kowtow, eyes wide with fear. "Aunt, please," Dylan begged, voice trembling. "I didn't know you carried Uncle's child. Spare me, I'll never." I remembered kneeling before them just yesterday, begging they spare my baby. They had not listened. I swung the rod across Dylan's back, hard. "You didn't know?" I spat. "Yesterday I told you, repeatedly, that this child was Raymond's. Did you hear me?" Dylan screamed and crumpled to the ground, shaking. "Uncle avoided women for 30 years. He's infertile," he howled. "I never imagined you'd conceive. Is that why you murdered my child?" I demanded, voice raw. "Yesterday I begged you to call and verify. You smashed my phone. If he had believed me, if he had called, my child would still be alive." Rage burned through me. I struck Dylan again and again. He writhed, pinned beneath a pair of guards, but still he tried to fight back with words. "Elizabeth, stop, or I will expose your filth," he roared between gasps. "Let's see if Uncle still wants you." I looked at him, utterly cold. "What filth could you possibly expose?" Dylan spat. "The night before our wedding, naked photos of you with men at a bar flooded the internet. If you hadn't been such a slut, I would never have jilted you." He turned and flung the accusation at Raymond, desperate. "Uncle, she's unworthy of the Martinez name. Her past made me accidentally harm the child." Raymond reacted with a kick that sent Dylan sprawling. "Dylan, do you understand the price of slandering my wife?" Dylan barked back. "I'm not lying. Amy saw it herself, and those indecent photos are on my phone." I turned to Amy, the iron rod trembling above her. "When did you see this? Where?" Amy, pale as death, could not answer. I brought the rod down onto her shoulder. She screamed. Through the pain, Amy wailed. "I made it up to trick Dylan into eloping with me. The photos were photoshopped." Her confession hung heavy in the cold air, a final, bitter twist that echoed across the gravesite. Her head hit the stone with a hollow thud. "Elizabeth, vengeance has a proper target, please. It was Dylan who killed the child in your womb, not me. Take your revenge on him. I beg you, spare me." Dylan's eyes snapped to Amy, fury blazing. "You lied to me?" With her deception exposed, Amy dropped the act. "Blame your own stupidity. You believe the fake photos I doctored, those so-called proofs of Elizabeth's affairs." With a burst of animal strength, Dylan ripped free from the guards and lunged at Amy. "You bitch, this is your doing, I'll kill you." They tore into each other. Amy, smaller but vicious, clawed at Dylan's face, reopening his wounds. I stepped back and watched as the vipers turned on one another. Dylan finally gained the upper hand, strangling her until her eyes rolled back. I signaled the bodyguards to pull him off. "I said I would avenge my child myself," I said. I brought the iron rod forward. Terror flooded their faces, both whispering, "No, please no." I raised the rod, aiming for their skulls, when Aaron's cane struck the floor with urgent force. "Elizabeth, spare them." Dylan's face lit with desperate hope. "Grandfather, she's going to kill me. Save me." Aaron, overnight grown almost white with age, walked to me, breath ragged, remorse in his voice. "Elizabeth, Dylan was a fool who destroyed the child you and Raymond shared. His crime is unforgivable." My grip tightened, my gaze ice. Dylan had been orphaned young, raised by Aaron. This plea for mercy was expected, but was Dylan's life worth more than my child's? The memory of yesterday's struggle, that silent plea from inside me, burned fresh. No plea would sway me now. Still, Aaron sank to his knees before me. Dylan lost his parents as a boy. I raised him. His monstrous act is my failure as guardian, he choked. Let this old man die with him today. Let us atone for our lost grandchild. Dylan panicked. Grandfather, I don't want to die. I won't die. He tore free again and lunged to pull Aaron up. How can you kneel to her? Get up. Take me away. Aaron wrenched free and struck Dylan sharply with his cane. You beast, kneel. Beg forgiveness from Elizabeth and the child you murdered. Broken by the blow, or realizing Aaron could no longer protect him, Dylan collapsed to his knees. His forehead hit the floor in frantic, hollow thuds. Aaron, beside me, bowed as well. Kill me first, so when I descend to hell, I will be worthy to face Dylan's parents. Holding the iron rod, I stepped back. This old man, who had dominated boardrooms and carried a lifetime of pride, now knelt before me, and his surrender stirred a storm of conflicting emotions in my chest. If Aaron had tried to shield Dylan, I would have been even more determined. Raymond, as head of the Martinez family, would eventually yield to his grandfather. But Aaron begging to die in Dylan's place left me shaken and uncertain. Raymond's hand steadied me from behind, his sharp gaze sweeping the room. Are you all corpses? He barked at the bodyguards, to let Aaron cause such chaos? Get him out now. They rushed to obey, dragging Aaron away despite his protests. Sensing my hesitation, Raymond seized the iron rod from my grasp. I'm the father, he said grimly. Vengeance is mine. Elizabeth stepped back. You shouldn't stain yourself with this. Dylan and Amy's last shred of hope vanished. They trembled as Raymond advanced, the iron rod gleaming in his hands. Uncle, Dylan cried, his voice breaking. I'm your blood nephew. Kill me, and how will you face grandfather? How face my father in the afterlife? How face our ancestors? Raymond raised the rod without a flicker of hesitation. That is not your concern. The rod whistled down. Dylan shrieked, wetting himself in terror. At the last instant, I grabbed Raymond's arm. He turned, startled, and I steadied my breath. Death is too merciful. Break their limbs, exile them from the Martinez family, and let them live crippled lives beneath even commoners. That is true punishment. Raymond frowned. Elizabeth, don't be swayed by his words. I care nothing for ancestors or judgment, only for justice, for you and for our child. Raymond, I whispered, death ends pain, but suffering, they must live with it. After a pause, Raymond threw the rod to a guard. Do as my wife commands. The rod fell again and again, shattering bone. Dylan and Amy's screams tore through the air as I traced my fingers across our child's tombstone. Baby, I whispered, we've avenged you. If your anger has eased, come back to us soon. Raymond's large hand covered mine. He will, Elizabeth. Our baby will return. Later, fearing the manor's memories would crush me, Raymond moved us away. He took me traveling, surrounding me with care and quiet. Yet we both knew the scar of loss would never truly fade. 3 years later, I conceived again. From the moment he learned the news, Raymond became like a besieged general, hiring guards and staff to ensure not even a fly could reach me. After 5 months, he abandoned office work to remain constantly at my side. As my belly swelled, my feet grew heavy and swollen. Each night he sighed anxiously while soothing me, too restless to sleep. I smoothed the frown from his brow with my fingers. Raymond, you have classic prenatal anxiety. Should we see a doctor tomorrow? His palm rested over my stomach, trembling. Elizabeth, I'm terrified. Nothing can happen to this child. I pressed my hand over his. It won't. This time he'll arrive safely. And he did. Soon after, I gave birth to a healthy boy, a light that finally eased the shadow of our grief. We celebrated with a grand banquet at Philadelphia's most luxurious hotel. But as Raymond and I stepped from the car with our newborn, a ragged figure staggered toward us. His twisted gait, scarred face, and hollow eyes startled me. Guards caught him before he reached us. I almost told them to give him food and coins until he spoke, and I recognized Dylan Martinez. Uncle, Aunt, you have a new child now. Please, let me return to the family. I've suffered enough. I've learned my lesson. Years of untreated injuries had left both Dylan and Amy crippled. Amy had abandoned him long ago, marrying a lonely older man. Reduced to begging, Dylan had lived with hunger, humiliation, and endless regret. Only one hope had kept him alive, that if Raymond and I had another child, mercy might be possible. That hope died in an instant. Raymond's voice was cold, unyielding. Sparing your life was mercy enough. Return to the Martinez family? Never. He ordered the guards to throw Dylan out. That final rejection shattered him. Within days, Dylan ended his life alone in a rented room. When the news reached us, Raymond and I sat in silence, our baby nestled between us. At last, Raymond quietly ordered Dylan's ashes to be collected, his expression unreadable.